Welcome to I Just Have to Say Something, a conservative Hispanic perspective where we audit criminal, police, and civilian interactions to improve safety within our communities, supporting the Second Amendment, police accountability to ensure our fundamental rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are never infringed. Please show your support for safer communities and the Second Amendment by hitting that like, subscribe, and notification bell. This is a follow-up video of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office who performed a traffic stop on a Navy veteran and they took it way too far. Because the bullshit is strong with many of these deputies, there's going to be a lot of commentaries on my side. I will be providing some educational comments and illustrations for those who are not familiar with guns to kind of call out some of the absurdities that these deputies make while on the stop. The local news station who's provided this article has hired a local defense attorney to review the footage and to give her feedback. Let's dive into this.
An update now on a News 4 Jax I-Team investigation of a traffic stop late last month of a local Navy veteran who is accusing officers with a Jacksonville police task force of racial profiling. After viewing body-worn camera video of the incident, a legal expert is weighing in on the officer's actions. Tarek is joining us now. He broke this story originally and is here with the new information. Tarek?
Well, there are two sides to this story. The driver, Braxton Smith, says when police initiated this traffic stop, he drove 300 yards to find a well-lit place to pull over.
One of the reasons why I started this channel was to help others understand and learn how to better interact with the police and to bring awareness that conservatives do want better policing in their communities. We are all not bootlickers and we're not all 100% for the police in its current state. There is room for improvement. If you're being pulled over by a law enforcement officer and you are concerned for your safety, what I would recommend is to slow down to a very slow, safe speed, put on your four-way hazard lights, and immediately call 911 to let them know that you believe you have an officer that's behind you that's trying to pull you over, and it is your intention to pull over to a safe location and that you are not trying to evade that officer. What this will do for you, number one, is that your intent is being recorded by the 911 system. Two, the dispatcher will let that officer know what your intents are. So that tends to de-escalate things. But I would recommend that you check your local law enforcement agency for their policies. Don't take my word for it. Please check it out for yourself. But you can de-escalate a situation by following these simple steps.
And then there's the perspective of the JSO task force members who oftentimes deal with some of Jacksonville's most violent criminals. While officers were prepared for the worst case scenario, a lawyer not associated with this case says police went too far.
Look at me, I'm doing that. What's up?
Roughly 30 minutes after this confrontational traffic stop involving Navy veteran Braxton Smith and JSO task force members.
Listen, I'm a black man.
I'm asking you a question.
I'm terrified of the police.
Mr. Black Man, I'm asking you a question. How many different sirens did I turn on?
The officers find no evidence of a crime and decide not to press charges against Smith.
While I am a conservative and I don't like playing a race card, it's pretty white of these deputies not to charge him with a crime since he hadn't done anything. As a minority, am I supposed to be, well, gee, officer, thank you for manhandling me, throwing me on the ground in the middle of the night because I hadn't done anything, and you had the good sense of not throwing me in jail. Well, thank you very much. Can I go now?
But before releasing Smith, the arresting officer explains why they aggressively put him in handcuffs.
That's why you had keep your hands out the car. I don't want you taking. It takes half a second for you to grab a gun and shoot. It takes me, on a good day, 1.8 seconds to grab my gun and shoot. So that means I can get shot about 3 or 4 times before I even get my gun out of the holster. Right? So these are the kind of odds that I got to deal with, man.
And this is where I get truly disgusted with these law enforcement officers. I've been carrying for 20 years now. And if I went into every potential situation, grocery store, gas station, and without provocation, whip my gun out because the other guy may get the drop on me and they could get, reaction's always slower than action. So I'm going to act and get out there. I would lose my concealed weapons license probably after I get charged with aggravated assault for pointing a gun at some poor innocent bystander because I thought they were going to do something. It is bullshit. If you're that scared of doing your job, go sell cupcakes. Girl Scout cookies is a really good, safe thing to do. You can sit in front of a Kroger's or a Walmart or a Publix and do that all day long and not worry about anything. But because you're scared of doing your job does not mean you have the right to infringe on other people's rights. You're a damn coward, and I will call you out for it all day long. And oh, by the way, if your draw speed is that slow, then get some goddamn training. Don't be pointing guns at people because your training sucks and your lack of motivation of getting out there and spending some time and practicing at your task is no excuse for your piss poor performance in the field. I'm in my 50s. I still compete, and I bet you I got a better draw speed than this guy. It is embarrassing, and I wouldn't be doing cop-splaining on Bodycam to somebody you just violated their rights.
After police initiated the traffic stop, they say Braxton Smith drove approximately 300 yards before he pulled over. Smith says he was trying to find a safe place to stop, while police thought he was trying to get away.
Just asking, why are you stopping me?
We showed the body camera video to defense attorney Lauren Prater, who's not associated with this case. She says, in her opinion, JSO task force members went too far.
So he puts his hand out the window with his license and registration. He did take a second to get his license and registration, put his hands out the window. Then he's thrown out the car with his seatbelt still on. I mean, again, he listened to the officer's commands. He actually went a step further and gave the officers what we think that, officers would typically ask for. So again, he complied with the officer's demands. I understand that cops have a duty to protect and serve. And
one thing this attorney failed to mention is that the police officers do not have any specific duty to protect anyone. Please pause the video and look at Warren versus District of Columbia. The police have no specific duty to protect you. You must protect yourself, and that's why I'm such a strong advocate of the Second Amendment.
These officers, that should be their goals, but I just feel like that went a step too far in this situation.
I thought he had like a clip right here on his belt line.
Okay, so this deputy stated he thought he saw a clip in a driver's waistline. Absolutely bullshit, and I will explain. Number one, clips are used for very, very old type military rifles. They're very rarely used in modern weapons at all. So that's a misstatement. So that's just idiocy 101. I have a picture here of a Glock 45 with a standard capacity of 17 rounds. I did not use a Glock 19 intentionally because it has a 15-round magazine and it's slightly shorter. As you see, the magazine is a very, very small component into the overall size of a semi-automatic weapon. It has to fit inside. So the odds are that a deputy could just see a magazine by itself. Complete bullshit. It is difficult enough to spot a gun in someone's who has it well concealed when they're standing up and moving around and they're all around you, good guys and bad guys, to let alone at the middle of the night with the shirt over the top of your waist, a seatbelt over the top of that. And this deputy's like, I thought I saw something. You didn't see a damn thing. I guarantee it. I am willing to put money on it. You did not see anything other than a minority driving a car, and you needed probable cause to pull him out of his car, and now you're getting desperate.
Body cam video reveals JSO officers tried to find a violation to charge Smith with, first questioning whether the Navy veteran threw his holstered handgun into the trunk from the driver's seat when he was being pulled over.
Does the back seat open up then? You know what I mean?
Absolutely, he could have.
Oh, yeah.
He absolutely could have. Grab right here. Easily. And look where it is, right at the front.
Okay, this is why I say the bullshit is strong with these deputies. Because anyone who's been driving for any amount of time will tell you, you drop something behind yourself, it is hard enough to get something that fell in front of you, let alone behind you. If you're a woman, you dropped your purse, how hard is it to get it? If you're a parent and your child drops a bottle, a toy or something, and they start screaming to holy hell that they want their stuff back, try to reach back and get it while you're driving. Now, try to do this while you're driving and the cop's behind you. And these deputies actually entertain the idea that not alone was the gun not only placed behind him, but he somehow accessed the back lever to open the rear seat, throw the gun in there in the trunk, closed it, resumed his seating position, and put his seatbelt back on and not wrecked his car and did it all within 300 yards while the deputy was watching him driving the entire time. This guy must be a superhero. So I'm going to ask in the comment section, was this guy the Flash or Mr. Stretch from the Fantastic Four or the Green Lantern? Because I can't decide which superhero this man is. I must know. Keep in mind, these deputies entertain the idea that this guy actually somehow did this. It's just me. but they may want to review their drug screening processes and their psychological screening evaluations, because anybody who would entertain that level of fantasy is on something or needs some help.
Did you put it back there whenever we were behind you?
No, how? How am I do that? It was in the trunk. How am I do that? From the driver's seat.
Pull the seat down?
I had my seatbelt on.
Huh?
I had my seatbelt on.
Yeah, when I walked up
Was
to
the
you.
seat reclined back?
Again, it's frustrating because it seems as though there's some fishing going around. And all things, like when we look at it in the grand scheme of things, this is a gentleman that was sitting in his vehicle with his seatbelt on. Whether he had a gun or not, it was nowhere near him. It was in his trunk.
And she is exactly right. In the state of Florida and in most states, please check your local jurisdictions. It is not against the law to have a firearm in the trunk of your car. In fact, in some gun restrictive states, that's the way they want you to have it. Nowhere near you.
Officers also questioned Smith as to why he doesn't have a concealed carry license for his firearm.
And this is really frightening that a deputy, a law enforcement officer certified in the state of Florida, does not know you do not require a concealed weapons license to own and possess a gun in the state of Florida. The only time you need that concealed weapons license, as far as I know, is when you intend to carry it concealed outside of your home or business. It is frightening that this guy does not have a clue to what the hell he's talking about, and again, violating this African American's rights to the Second Amendment. What business is it to this officer whether or not he has a concealed license? His Second Amendment right is not tied to that piece of paper.
They interrogated him about drugs that they didn't find. And
again, I'll say this once, I'll say it 100 times. What is it with police officers and politicians? Police officers think that minorities can find drugs like breathing air, and politician thinks we can't find an ID. It's total bullshit. I don't seek drugs, and I've always been able to get an ID. And everybody that I've known that's a minority, that's come from Cuba and other countries like Venezuela, have all been able to get IDs. It's just one of those things that's like a pebble in my shoe. Drives me nuts.
Alleged his front two windows were tinted too dark.
And now really, after all of this BS, best you got is at night, windows are tinted too dark? Really? At night? Give me a break.
My traffic program is messed up, so I can't write a ticket right now.
Officers told Smith they let him go because their police equipment malfunctioned.
No, let's just call it for what it is. They let him go because all of their pretextual stops, the overzealous policing, the assaults on his civil rights, the searching of his car was all bogus. That's why they let him go. No other reason. They were fishing and they didn't catch anything.
Prater says Smith's civil rights may have been violated.
I think that there may be a case against the officers potentially within their own HR and integrity department to investigate how they handled this and whether or not it was appropriate.
News4Jax has put in a public records request for the names of the JSO task force officers involved in this incident and the specific task force that they're assigned to. We are waiting on that reply. JSO officers say that this case is under review after Braxton Smith filed a formal complaint.
Again, this is not an anti-cop channel, but without good analysis and being objective, we cannot make things better for the community. It cannot be those just on the left that are calling for police reform. People on the right need to be objective too and be able to say that could have gone better. The police need to protect themselves, the community, and people's individuals' liberties and rights. I will say to the deputy, if you're that paranoid about your job, get some counseling. If you're a veteran like I am and you served in the box and you're back now in the world, who didn't go out with you on the street that night is an enemy combatant, you're in the wrong business. You might have been able to violate the human rights of people out in the box in another country, but in America, we have civil rights. We have a constitution you're supposed to defend. You cannot be treating every civilian as a potential enemy combatant, and that's what I heard you say. You have the wrong mindset for the job, in my opinion. Yes, you have to be diligent, but you can't use your fear as a pretext to override someone's constitutional and civil rights, because that's going to end up in somebody getting killed. And that is not what anybody wants. No one wants anyone to get hurt. Make sure to carry safely and legally, and always be ready to defend yourself and those that you love. Thank you for visiting. Please like and subscribe and share this video.